Hi, everybody. Who wants to go camping? My name's Gray Drake. I'm the senior editor of Rotten Tomatoes, so I want to say hello to you, Egyptian Theater in Los Angeles. Woo! And also a huge hello to Facebook Live and also all the Draft House theaters that we're streaming to tonight. A word for everybody. If you'd like to ask the magnificent folks that we're about to talk to a question, make sure to tweet it to us and hashtag it AskAlamo. We're going to be compiling these bad boys, and in about 15 or so minutes, I'll start asking those questions, AKA the ones that you really want to hear. That was a joke, guys. Got to loosen up. Got to loosen up when we're talking about AI. I promise the material will get better. So, I'm about ready to ask you to put your hands together because we have 4 fantastic guests tonight. First and foremost, the actresses in the film, the stars of Morgan. We've got Anya Taylor-Joy and Kate Mara. Give it up. And hot on their heels, we have director Luke Scott. And followed by producer Ridley Scott. Can I go to this one? And now we're going to play musical chairs.
These are really high. Yeah, I feel really tall.
This is fun.
Where you going? Evening.
Leave the mic with me. See that? He's a man always in charge.
Just throw it.
All right, so let's just ease into this real nice and slow and get this started. Luke, what is the essence that makes us all human? Go. How about this one?
Faith.
Ooh, touche. Do you consider Morgan a she or an it?
It.
Why is that?
It was always intended to be. Though I suppose she comes across as feminine.
Yeah.
I think that's partly because Anya is in fact a woman.
Really? Oh.
Yeah, no, she was always intended to be genderless, androgynous.
Do you think that that affected the way that you directed Anya and her character? I mean, and Kate as well, as it turns out. Twist.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, trying to get Anya to, we kind of bound you up, didn't we? We tried to we really tortured you, actually, didn't we?
We also did a lot. The two of us did a lot of like boxing.
Yeah,
because
the stunt training was
suggested
crazy.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was a kind of control that Anya and I talked about you kind of, we sent you both to dance lessons, didn't you? Just to kind of get the whole movement right. And Kate's character, Lee, was quite a tough cookie.
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's being very diplomatic, yes. Total badass is
But
also acceptable.
that was her idea. I said you should come in as really sweet and accommodating. But no. That was
I'm not sweet or accommodating. No, I think the physical aspect was very important to both of us. And luckily we knew, it was almost 2 months, I would say, before we started shooting, that we would be making this together. And so we talked a lot about the physical aspects of these characters and how important that is. So I was training before I went to Ireland with both ballet and also boxing. So the super feminine and the super masculine aspects of this character.
Yeah, because she is so fierce, but it did not go unnoticed that she is wearing heels this whole film.
That was not my idea.
Well, my hat is off to you. And I actually wanted to discuss that stunt work because you guys are both such worthy adversaries. And it occurred to me as I watched that scene on the lake, you were actually movie drowning her, which is like, that's no small feat. And so can you describe that specifically? Like, what was that like, and when or if a stunt person took over?
Well, I mean, I think we were really lucky with our stunt team because they were so inclusive, and we'd basically go in with them you know, kind of every day or whenever we could, and just train with them the way that they were training. And so they were really kind of specifically showing us how to do things. And then it gets to a certain point where you sort of look at each other and you trust each other and you know each other's bodies well enough that you can be like, okay, I'm going to push further on this one. Obviously, you know, no one's looking to hurt anybody, but we definitely went as hard as we possibly could, I'd say.
Yeah, and we were lucky because maybe you planned this, but we didn't shoot that until the very end.
Yeah.
Oh, they became adversaries. You know, that was all the plan. You know, all along.
Ah, so it's like a whole
Conflict.
shoot and the build up, and everybody's tired,
Yeah,
and you've
irritated with each other.
There you go. It wasn't acting.
Yeah. But to be fair, most of the fight. I mean, credit to the stunt team, but Kate and Anya are in those fight scenes quite a lot. You'd be surprised, you know.
I was very worried for both of you.
We were worried for ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, we worked really, really hard to be able to do it because, as Kate said, it was really important for the characters to have that physicality. But I really do think it comes from a place of trust. If you don't trust the person that you're throwing really strong punches at, or if you're receiving them, you're not really going to get a good scene because you're going to be unsafe. And so, out of trust, you can kind of sort of torture each other a little bit more, if that makes sense.
It does to me. What does it say about me? So, Ridley, I wanted to ask you, because a lot of your films have dealt with AI versus humanity, or with humanity, would you say that over time your attitude towards that has changed in a significant way? Do you have any different ideas or beliefs now as compared to a long time ago?
I think it's even more feasible and more inevitable now. I think if we let them do it, they'd definitely have a go. Whoever they are, it's probably certainly not going to happen in this country with the control. But in other countries, I think I would imagine it's already begun. It's already happening.
Chilling words to me.
Yeah.
Well, and because this is something that's already happening, while you two were crafting your characters, was there ever anything that you tried that seemed like too much or too little? We've already talked about how you wanted to be more of a badass, Kate. Was there anything else that significantly changed in your process?
Well, you do have to sort of eliminate any sort of emotional, a lot of emotions that you would naturally have as a human being. So I think that was the most challenging thing for me, playing this character, because you're not supposed. We're very, very trained, and we're supposed to have sort of very specific boundaries in our minds, and not a lot of emotional aspects to our.
How does one go about turning that off? It seems like a very difficult thing to make it like a faucet. So if you're in the mode of the role and you're being very unemotional, how does that work out when they call cut?
I can be emotionless really easily, right, Luke?
Ice cold all the way. So totally focused, but that's how you came across all the time, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess that's just your job as an actor.
Yeah, weird. Acting. I always forget that that's happening.
Actually, it was quite interesting because trying to find the appropriate reactions, I suppose, to certain things that, you weren't overdoing anything really. That was kind of cool. Actually, very focused in that respect.
Anya, what about you? Like, was there like a big shift in how you wanted to portray Morgan?
I mean, I think it was really, really useful because I went out to Ireland about 2 weeks or something like that prior to anything. And so Luke and I would kind of sit down every day and, have all of these different ideas. And Morgan went through a lot of different incarnations during that time period. And then we found this clip of this girl who had been, locked in a room. Remember that? And that was the day that we both just went,
that was
that's
something
it.
Jennifer Jason Lee sent us, didn't? Yeah, that was really hardcore.
And it was just something in her facial expression that I just, as soon as I saw it, I was like, that's Morgan. If I can do that, then that is Morgan. And then it's interesting because Lee's, very closed and quite, contained, whilst Morgan, I think, has so many feelings. She's experiencing everything for the first time. So it's almost kind of like ping pong balls. You're going from one emotion to this emotion to that emotion. And just, when you're that strong and you're that, capable, I guess, in so many different ways, it makes you a little bit dangerous, I guess.
And kind of cuckoo bananas is the word that came to my mind as well.
But you know what was...
I love her.
Yeah.
But Anya really accessed this kind of level of vulnerability with a level of danger and kind of balanced that stuff all the time, which must have been really difficult, actually, to maintain a consistency there. And I mean, all credit to you, because I only discovered this in hindsight. Though we did talk about all of those ping-pong emotions going around anyway, But you did find that vulnerability and that danger as well.
Thanks, Luke.
Yeah, I thought it was, yeah.
Well, what it is more of, I guess, just as I am as an actor, my characters are really real for me, and so if it's almost kind of asking like what the character wants, you know what I mean? And if something feels wrong, I know it's because I'm not thinking the right thoughts. I'm not thinking her thoughts the right way, and so, and I know we keep talking about the stunt teams, but like that did change everything, because it just changes the way that you kind of react to whatever feeling you have inside, and that was invaluable. And yeah, no, I know you guys have just seen it, so you probably think she's a bit of a psycho, but I really love her. I feel for her.
I think that's what makes a performance really come across and land with people, is when, you're supposed to. So it's good that you feel that way. Ridley, I wanted to ask you, what trait does Morgan have that you wish that you possessed? Are there any?
Over the years, I think you learn to not compromise. I think when you begin, you tend to compromise for all kinds of reasons, usually based out of insecurity, because you're on a new treadmill, you're on a new game, and because also you don't quite really know what you're doing. So in my case, I learned as I was going. There was no formal training. I would make mistakes, and gradually it's learning to be not compromising. I don't compromise that much, but I try to be fun, don't I? Yeah.
You're fun, yeah.
But the thing is, when you get really experienced, it can either spell out that there is going to be a dullness attached to it, or when you get really, really experienced, it means you know what the fuck you're doing. And so I tend to walk on the floor knowing exactly what I'm going to do. And off that, but I still leave it open to, the thespians, that's actors, okay, who actually will want to say this way or that way, and I'll always leave that open, right? Yeah. So what do you want to do? So, and frequently, it's the key, if you're going to do my job, or if you're going to be an actor, to know what the hell you're doing when you walk on that floor. You need to know what you're going to do. You need to have a really good target.
Can you and Luke both talk about how you came across the script and how you decided to put it into production as a producer and director?
I think you know that best. I was just told he has this thing he really likes. I went, oh, great, okay, good.
Nice.
Sorry. It was. Well, it was a happy accident, actually, because I wrote a short film called Loom, which was a kind of a similar type of Frankenstein story that was a short film that was for Red Camera. And Fox asked me to expand upon it, which I did, and wrote a script that had nothing to do with Loom. But in that period, another script from Seth Owen came to my attention, and I read it. And there was one scene which really struck me, and actually why I got interested in it was the scene between what you've just seen, between Anya and Paul Giamatti, the interview. And it originally ran, I think, like 20 odd pages, so it was quite an intense scene. And I thought, Jesus, that'd be great to do, have a shot at that. And I think it's a great scene.
It really is. I in watching it the second time, the thing that struck me is at first I thought, oh gosh, how awful for Morgan to be in the room with, this fierce, horrible person. And then I watched it again and I went, oh my God, how horrible for him. It's so interesting. There's such a great turn in that scene that is really haunting.
Yeah, I mean, she really starts to mess with him. And,
Yeah. And while we're on that topic, can we just talk about taking a chunk out of his neck?
It was fun. It was
How dope is that?
Oh my goodness. So like the actual spitting wasn't that much fun because I had to have it in my mouth for a while. And
What was it?
Like prosthetic neck thing. But we shot that scene over 2 days, and it was, by the end of each day, we couldn't really talk anymore. We were just a bit like, oh, it was okay. Like, because it's so intense, and you're doing it again and again and again, and it's Paul Giamatti, and so you're like, oh my God. But it was, when we finally got to the bit where I got to eat him a little bit, it kind of felt like we did a good job, and it was fun because it wasn't scripted that I was supposed to spit it back at him, but I'm glad Morgan did.
tension release.
Because Morgan was angry.
They did that scene as one take.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, for 2 days.
That's brutal for 2 days, and we
God,
kept
just
moving
over
in.
and over?
It
I
was
know.
like acting school. It was amazing. You're sitting across the table from, and this was my second movie, I'd just come off The Witch, and you're sitting across the table from Paul Giamatti, and he's screaming at you, and he's, doing all of these unexpected things, which I didn't go to drama school. I didn't know that if you fluffed a line, you could just take it back and do it again, and you didn't have to cut, and I was like, oh, okay, noted. It was a real gift, and we all went out for dinner the day that we had finished that, and we're just like, 11 pages of script, man. Good job.
Wow. And this film has such a great set, and I was really struck by him demanding to be let behind the glass. And I thought that, I wanted to ask you to talk about just being on that set. And you were largely, Kate, you also experienced this, being inside the enclosure. And I feel like it's like an enclosure. It's like a zoo, a human zoo almost.
It was mostly Anya, though, because for the first few days, she and I really only interacted between the glass. And we had rehearsed enough with our stunts and with Luke as well that we had this... Well, we had most of our stunts down like a dance, and so because you can't really hear each other very well through the glass, we didn't communicate that much verbally, but we would every once in a while just do our physical movements together just to sort of say hello. Yeah. Like this weird ritual every day.
Completely. And I mean, it was so strange because we had shot so much of the behind the glass. I call it the cage. It's not bloody enclosure, it's a cage. But like, it was crazy because we went out and we shot some of the stuff in the woods, and then we realized that we had to reshoot some stuff. And going back in there was really quite horrible. I was like, oh no, because it's kind of soundproof in there. And so a lot of the time that, if people were on my side of the glass, it was fine and I could interact with everyone and it was awesome. But if it was on the other side of the glass, I was just sort of in a room watching everyone, but not really being able to hear them, and just sort of sitting there and being like, oh, okay, I really understand how she feels.
Helps you kind of go method, so to speak, with
I mean,
being so isolated.
More than method, I'd say empathy. I really felt for her so much throughout all of that. And I guess that in a way allows you to kind of justify the, things that might make other people think that she's not that great.
Do you think she says at one point, I feel terribly about it? Do you think she really felt terribly?
Are you asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you guys think she really feels? Because, you were talking about that a minute ago, she thought she did. But.
Yeah, I think that she does. But, it's what you said before of, like, she's my character. Of course I love her. And, of course I think she feels. I think it's more than feeling terrible in terms of, like, oh, this really hurts. I think she's upset she's made a mistake that she didn't know was a mistake. She's learning everything. And so she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that was bad. I apologize for that.
Sorry, Paul Giamatti's neck. I didn't know that was bad.
Oh, no, that one she meant, and that one she did not
good,
feel
yeah.
horrible about at all.
I think there was genuine remorse, and the thing about Morgan as a character is it's a real tragedy. because in my mind, she's a great success as a human.
Completely.
And that's what we got at the end on the, it's very subtle, but we talked about it, was that Morgan, the tears are not because, well, she's arrived. She realizes, because she's feeling stuff, I'm human. And that's a terrible tragedy, and of course it's all over.
And to that, just that line about the cruelest thing you can do is press their face to the glass. I was like, oh, she is right about that.
I just mentioned one thing about that set, is that it was very oppressive. But we designed it, it has a footprint. We were sitting there doing this thing, and it actually has a footprint of a human womb. Is that we looked at biological books, and we started to fiddle about with that kind of thing, and it actually, the footprint of it, the kind of actual bird's eye design of it is like a womb.
Now you know, guys. We're opening this up to our hashtag Ask Alamo questions, and in honor of the phenomenal internet, I wanted to start with this David Carzell tweet. Hey, Kate Mara, how long have you known that you're a... Can I swear, guys? Just yell at me, yes or no?
Yeah, just do it.
All right, good.
Be brave.
Hey, Kate Mara, how long have you known you're a fucking savage? And there's a lot of love in that tweet. There's a lot of love.
How do I
long?
respond to that? Thank you. What was his name?
David.
Yeah, just thanks. Thanks, David. Thank you.
All right, Frank Lannister he said, just saw Morgan and loved it. Great mix of gorgeous wide shots and quick action takes. Any advice for aspiring filmmakers? Let's direct that to Ridley and Luke.
You did it, dude. You answer.
Do your homework. Study hard, I mean, do your homework and, know what you're doing, and let the actors act.
That's hard, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
It's challenging to have some restraint at times.
No, the thing you got to do is just do it. You have to do it. You can pontificate. People say it's harder to get a film going today than ever before. It's bullshit. You've got so many video devices that you can go out this weekend with your friends, and somebody clubs together by the hamburgers, make a goddamn movie and stop whining about it.
There you go.
You owe him a check for tuition, which is equal to that of college for that answer. Thanks,
quick
guys.
class.
Dame Nicole would like to know, she says, I work in AI, and I'm curious the research that you did for this and why you chose a female bot.
We did research. I went to the University of Belfast, Queen's University, to the biogenetics lab, and had a long conversation with a professor who I think wishes to remain nameless. He was very uncomfortable with the conversation that we had about the efficacy and possibility of this kind of technology. But I really looked into you may have heard about it now, but the CRISPR genetic splicing techniques that are now available. And I think somebody won a Nobel Peace Prize, the two female scientists who discovered this technique. Why Morgan? Okay, I sat there and thought long and hard about what Morgan's appearance would be like. And I realized if I was a scientist putting together this kind of creature, I certainly wouldn't make a monster. I'd make something that's very familiar to me and the world, not too horrifying. And of course, Morgan represents a kind of evolutionary step. I think that there was a decision to make Morgan androgynous simply because it was a way of checking that the creature wouldn't reproduce.
We saw how well that worked in other films such as Jurassic Park. Canopy is asking, and I'll direct this to you, Anya, is Morgan driven most to survive, love, or kick ass?
Ooh.
A little bit of both. No, I think it's when we were first having our conversations, Luke and I, during rehearsals, we were always talking about, Morgan's kind of like a wild animal in a way. And if you back a wild animal up into a cage, like into the corner of a cage, and you're not going to let it get out, it's going to get out fighting. Does that mean that it wants to fight? Probably not. I don't think she's got like rage within her that she just wants to kind of like go out and fuck up everything. I think she's just more, she wants to get out of there. So I guess survival, yeah, she's driven to survive, but I think she's driven to survive because she wants to experience things like love, and she wants to experience and be human and feel. But in order to do that, you got to be alive. So.
Man, because when she's standing on the lake and saying, like, is this heaven? Yeah. It's like, oh, man. I wish we could even answer that, Morgan. That was a moment. The Dishmaster would like to know.
Ooh.
I love Twitter. If you could create your own superhuman, what qualities would it possess? You snapped your head up really fast over there, Ridley. I know you have an answer waiting on hand.
I haven't actually. What quality would it possess? I think we're so far down the line and in speculation, far more than I think is published or discussed. And I think, it's a little bit like saying when you get the very smartest computer you can possibly design, the first thing you're going to do is get that computer to design another computer which is smarter than they are. Then you get these two computers to commune. Once you do that, you're in real trouble because they're so far ahead of you. Then they've already disconnected this and connected that, and they're thinking miles ahead of you. Yeah. So once we do that, we're in real trouble. So I think you've always got to keep a handle on what you're doing.
So that's kind of what it would possess, is just the ability to surpass you ever so quickly, exponentially.
I think they've done it already. I think there's supercomputers around.
Oh God, Ridley, you're killing me over here.
Definitely. They're going to take us over in the skirting board. They connect everything with the every wire in every building. There's a connection.
Do people ever in the scientific world, do they ever just randomly kind of contact you and want to share these kinds of developments with you because of your artistic work?
No, I think there's a real connection with. I had a very good experience with NASA and with JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. JPL have long hair elastic bands and flip-flops because they make engines and machines, and NASA have suits and ties because they make engines and machines that send human beings up there. But they work together, and I got to know them pretty well, and they would say, what are your spacesuits going to look like? I said, I'm going to not show you mine until you show me yours. And then they showed me their spacesuit, and I said, that's absolutely fucking terrible. They said, we know, can we borrow yours? So they fundamentally regard their evolution, because it's like astrophysics, super mathematics. It's an art form. Science is art. People think science is science. Science is more than that. Science is art, right? Mathematics are art. And so it's a bit like being a brilliant screenwriter. You're screwing around with abstracts till you form order. That's mathematics. No difference.
Let's go back to that superhuman question. If
I
you guys
thought I avoided it.
You did expertly, sir, and I look to Anya sitting next to you. If you guys had created a superhuman, what is the trait that you really want it to possess?
I don't know. I think I wouldn't
You guys
really
don't want to play
create
God
one.
over there?
No, don't want to play
All
God,
right.
man.
So you've learned your lesson from basically every movie
From
ever,
3
then.
months in Ireland, we figured it out.
When you guys were filming, were the circumstances of filming such that you guys were isolated as a cast from everyone else in the area in Ireland? Like, did you guys have kind of a place away from everyone, or did you just leave the set and go into a normal metropolis?
Well, I mean, I guess I was on set most of the time, as was Luke anyway. So by the time we would wrap at night, I kept myself very isolated. It kind of helped me in a lot of ways. But I think the rest of the cast would go out most nights, right, Anya?
Yeah. No, there is an incredible Irish crew, and there's such lovely people, and Belfast is a really, really interesting place to film, and so I just spent a lot of time with the crew, just kind of discovering new parts of Belfast and stuff like that. And also, I mean, the other actors were living in a hotel, and Kate and I had kind of our own separate apartments, and so I'd just get people around to my apartment, because other than that, you know, I was on the other side of the glass and it was pretty lonely. So I needed some
people time.
human contact. Yeah.
Makes sense. Kate, this question comes from Filmmaker. How many times did you throw that chair against the glass, and was that damage real?
Yeah, I was really trying to damage it. It didn't want to break, that glass.
You were hurling that chair.
We did it a bunch of
You did
how
a
many
lot
times?
of times, because I think I said, break the glass.
Yeah, I was trying really, really,
But
really
I knew
hard.
that it wasn't going to break.
It was an evil, evil trick. It was fun though. I enjoyed that. Yeah, that was one of my favorite scenes.
I feel like that's going to be like a new LA fitness craze. You know?
Break the glass.
It is a good workout. Yeah.
Right? Like pick up a chair and just throw it at this
Well, you know,
unbreakable
the hardest
glass.
part about it was having to remember that it will bounce back in your face. So
There's a learning
Yeah.
curve to it. Yeah, got it.
In
Ma-
heels as well.
Oh, in heels. Didn't go unnoticed. Mao Makita wants to know, could this potentially be the first peek into a broader world, Luke? Maybe see more of Lee and the corporation.
I'm not going to answer that question.
Oh, all right. Then I'm just going to give you a knowing smile. Weirdo Alan Awool, Twitter. How is our definition of humanity challenged differently by humanoid robots versus bioengineered superhumans? There are so many syllables in that question. I'm impressed. Humanoid robots versus bioengineered superhumans. How is our definition of humanity challenged by that? A lot of syllables, guys. I'm having trouble wrapping my brain around it.
I think bioengineered humans is far more likely than robotics. I think that they offer a greatest challenge to humanity, simply because it's like, you know, once the germ gets in the species, it's goodbye humans part 1 and hello humans part 2.
You know, between you and Ridley down there, this is really uplifting.
We're all gonna die.
You're welcome.
Does anybody keep anything from the sets that you're on? That's for all of you.
Oh, I kept it. Not from this movie, but oh, that's not true. I did keep a pair of heels. Thank you for that, Luke. I kept one of my spacesuits from The Martian, Brid.
Wow.
We noticed. It will be deducted.
We did have some
from your
reshoots, and I
back
got a
end.
call from the costume designer saying, "I'm not joking. We need you to bring your spacesuit for the reshoots." And I had a slight panic on that one, but I found it. So yeah.
And just a Post-it sitting somewhere, bring spacesuit. Awesome. What about you? Do you keep anything, Anya?
Yeah, I mean, I keep, whenever I like jewelry a lot, and my jewelry's kind of like my armor, but whenever I go in to do a job, I take it all off, and whatever's, you know, a lot of my characters actually usually have one outfit. And so, you know, from Thomason, I kept her garters and her, you know, ribbons. From Morgan, I kept the hoodie that I wore every day. Still have it at home, still wear it.
It looked
It's pretty
itchy.
comfy. No, I get like, it's just like a jumper. It's just like a really comfy jumper. And yeah, I love doing that. It's a way of keeping a part of them, I guess, and reminding you of, like, you know, what you've done.
Ridley, do you keep anything from movies?
Not initially, never. Except now, I kept a very teeny space suit because a quick anecdote. I was standing in the set in H stage and I was looking up at 45 feet to the gantry, which is not that high. And I'd built a landing leg, and I was looking at this landing leg thinking, it's never big enough, so it's not big enough. and there's an elevator on it which 3 spacemen would come down on it, and 3 men, or Sigourney who's 6 foot, and 2 guys, it didn't look big at all. So I had 4 days to go, so I had a quick, small spacesuit made for 3 midgets, 2 of them was kids, and another child of a cameraman, and I stuck them up, and the leg was suddenly 60 feet. So I learned about miniatures. I had to wire my kids to it in case they fell off, though. So I said, behave. They were up there like 50 feet up. So I kept the suit. I've still got that suit.
Movie magic. Got anything to top that, brother?
Just my memories, really.
Oh,
My
guys.
sweet memories of. No, I don't. Storyboards. I got Rose. Still.
It's not a tiny space. Sorry. I'm sure they're beautiful, though. It's a beautiful film.
Yeah.
As we've heard. That's actually all the time that we have, guys. I've been given the official wrap. So I want to say goodbye again, of course, to Facebook, to all of our Alamo theaters watching, to you at the Egyptian, and make sure when this movie comes out, you're tweeting about it. Opening weekend is important. Ridley Scott, Anya Taylor-Joy, Kate Mara, and director Luke Scott.
Thank you.